Good evening, guys. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go on.
All right, no problem. So welcome everyone. My name is Abbas Keker, JavaScript developer. I'll be talking mostly on JavaScript practically. So what's going to happen is I'll try code. Try to just try to cover most of the concepts. I don't have slides to show you, but you have to do it to understand. You have to understand why it's working, the way it's working. So first of all, I would like everyone that is about to visit this. If you can visit replit.com. This is the site. That's replit.com. I'll repeat that again, replit.com. Then you'll be prompted to log in. So you click on the login at the right side. And once you do that, you can log in with either your account, your GitHub account, or your Facebook account. But I'd recommend you use GitHub. I'm believing that as of now, everyone has a GitHub account. So I'll just quickly click on that to log me in. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I'm basically, and once you log in here, this Replit is a tool where you can just pin up and and write code as you would wish. It takes away the idea of having set it up locally, install this, install that. So we won't do that. We'll go ahead and start. This is what I want everyone. So you click on new repo. So once you come here, you can choose any language of your choice. But for the sake of what we're doing, I'll choose Node.js. I choose Node.js because Node.js is where you can also run JavaScript. JavaScript can also run on the browser too, but I want to run it on Node.js because JavaScript is JavaScript anyway. Then you can give it a custom name. I'm just going to give it JavaScript practicals. Let's just name that for now. And then I'm going to create a repo. Yeah, this might take some time, but before that takes time, let me just go over some stuff. So I tried as much as possible to break this down, and I tried as much as possible. Sorry about that. I tried as much as possible to break this down into topics that cover general day-to-day uses. I looked at what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I try to look at it from a beginner's perspective, reflecting back to when I started, and I just want to give you a run through of what you would need. And these are the topics I could come up. These are the topics I came up with. It's not all there is to JavaScript. There's a lot more to JavaScript, but with this, it can get you started. So on your previous classes, which I was able to go through, you talked on different types, basic types in JavaScript, primitive and non-primitive types. Today I'm just going to do a rush through that. Then I'll introduce you to basic operations. Most of these non-primitive types exactly can, they have most of the primitive types you can even the and we'll look at objects, array methods, and string methods. We have all kinds of data structures JavaScript, but for the sake of this class, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. And then we'll go into looking scope, closure, and execution context. I want to bring this in so you understand how a little of these things behind the scene. And we'll look at additional statements. How would you use if else statements? How would you use switch statements? Where would you use them? We'll then look at inheritance and classes, just a little of it. And we'll look at timers, callbacks, and process, error handling, and network requests. Not like I'm going through like this sequentially. We might have to just jump to network requests and go back, but I'm just going to write code and it's going to cover all of this. So I believe this setup. Just give a rough history of let's say of JavaScript. JavaScript was invented by Brendan Eich, and it's a single-threaded language that, of course, that can work on multiple threads too. But that's a story for another day. It makes use of what we call an if loop and a call stack. Don't pay too much attention to the terms for now. When I start doing the illustration, I'm going to go back to it. But that's about it. So what are types? Basic types in JavaScript. Of course, we have numbers, we have strings, and then we have booleans. You've told that before. I'm not here to list them out. I'm just going to do an operation. What's a basic operation in JavaScript? Let's say we want to, do an addition. Let's call it add my age. Add 10 to my age. If you notice the way I name my variable, this is called camel casing. The convention in JavaScript where you start the first word, as it can be, add in this case with a small letter, and then the ones who start with the capital letter. It looks clean. It's something that's peculiar to JavaScript. Languages like Python, they make use of what we call snake casing. So in Python, I'll do something like this. Yeah, but that's out of the context of this class. I just wanted to bring that up so you have that in mind. So when I do add 10 to my age now, I'll declare first. This variable is const my age. I'll make it 100 because I'm so old. And then we'll do an operation. This is a basic operation with this addition. We always want to do something. So we have my age here. My age is 100. I could do something like this. My age plus, let's say I want to add 100 more years to myself. My age plus 100. And then in JavaScript, to see anything in the console, you just do console. Then I do console log. Add 10 to my age. What do you think the result is going to be at this moment? Just take a careful look. We have my age 100, then we add 100 to it. Of course, we should know that it should give us what? 200. That's it. That's a basic addition. Yeah, it seems basic, but then when you begin to build real-world programs, you could have to do a lot of this, not just do it the way I do it. You might do it over iterations, but then we'll get to that. Then, of course, this applies for subtraction and multiplication. I could do minus. Just call this subtract. If I do this, what do you expect to get? 0, of course. Let's just make this 110. Does it throw an error? No, it won't. Just like a basic math operation, you give it 2 values. As long as they're of that type, once you just do, you expect a result. So once you do 100 minus 110, you expect minus 10. That's what you get in math. You could also use multiplication here. Let's multiply it by 11, let's say. And then we have 1,100. That's for multiplication. Let's use division. We divide. Let's do by 20. What do we get? 100 divided by 20 will give you 5. Yeah, we have the basic operations out the way. That's it. Wow. But then, that's just for primitive types. Yeah. So for numbers, you can do, let's say this is specifically for numbers. For numbers, you can do this for numbers. Let me just have it here as number. Then what operations could you possibly do on strings? For strings, mostly you could do strings have lots of things you could do on them, but for the scope of this, we'll just do what I like to call concatenation. So let's say someone gives you your first name and your last name, and tells you to give out your full name. How would you know that? So we declare a variable. You notice I like to use const. Variables that would not change, that you don't expect to change. Primitive values, actually, you don't expect to change. It's a good convenient them with const. But the alternatives like var, and then the alternative like let. But I'm only going to use good practice to code. So whenever you have to look at this, you just follow that and know that that's how it should be. But so now I'm just going to do what's my first name? I'll just do first name, the string Abasifrede, yeah. And then I'm going to do my last name, which is a query. Then let's concatenate this. How will I produce my full name? On a form, you just, if you're given a form to fill on your bank and you're asked to fill your first name and your last name, you don't have to go back and say, or more, I don't have a full name or something like that. Your first name plus your last name gives you your full name. So it's the same idea here. So if I should do first name plus last name, sorry. So you see, I have a highlighter. That highlighter lets me know that I'm spelling the last name wrongly. So I'm just going to comment this out so it doesn't get in our way. So when I do console log there, what do you expect to get for full name? I do console log here, you expect to get a specific query, yeah? Therefore, that's what you get. This is not an addition. This is what we call a concatenation. Sorry, concatenate is a concatenation, which is the summing up of two values. That's it. Piecing them together. But it doesn't look pretty at all. You'd want a space between a specific and a query. You could go on and do something like this. Since they are just, this is still a string, a valid string. Put a space between those strings. So once you add them this way, sorry, this was 2 plus sign, that was what happened. So once you add them this way, it gives you a specific query with your space as desired. That looks good, yeah? But then let me just quickly throw in a new concept for you now. There's something called template literals. I personally do not like to just concatenate like this because it gives you lots of limitations, but you have template literals. Instead of doing this, you could as well, let me just comment this out. You know what? Let me just leave this here for now, and then I run it and you see what's going to happen. So instead of doing that, you could do this. You have a syntax in JavaScript. You start with double quotes. Once you start with double quotes, you've created a template literal. That's it. There's no more to it. But then, okay, what if you want to use variables? I want to use first name and last name here. How do I do it? You start with the $sign and then 2 curly braces. You see that? Then you can type your first name, and type your first name, and then in your mind, you want to give a space. You don't have to concatenate like the way we did here. You just come here and then you do this, and then you come and then you do last name. It maintains that space. If I run this, what's going to happen? The aim of this class is to make you see, not just, I didn't want to just come and start showing you slides and all that, but just to make you see how things happen in real time. The const cannot be changed, yeah? Once you declare it for a particular variable, if you want to declare it another time, it won't let you. Let's run and see what's going to happen. So you see what happens. Identifier full name has already been declared. This is a syntax error. JavaScript doesn't allow this. It's a way of keeping your code not just organized, but keeping track of variables you've already used. Because if I use something like let's say I used var. If I'd used var and done this, yeah, it just goes ahead and works. var doesn't care. It goes ahead and works. But let's use let's and see how let is going to behave in this instance. So this is let's, right? And then we use bar. Let's see what happens. It throws an error. Let cannot be redeclared, but let can be reassigned. So redeclaration is when you use a keyword like this, and then you assign it to a name like this. Then you come again and use another keyword. But if I come here on this, it would have just gone through. This is what we call a reassignment. Yeah, reassignment. What this is declaration. You're declaring here, you're assigning here. Let you get away with that. But anyway, just to go back to what we were doing, I'm just going to comment this out, and then we have this running. I'm just going to comment this, and then we have this running. Yeah, so we have a specific query as it is. So we have that out of the way. Then, of course, I've mentioned, then we have booleans. Yeah, we have booleans. What operation can you perform on a boolean? So at times you, in real world scenarios, you want to determine a condition. So let's say you have a variable that's is true is equal to is equals to 1 is greater than 2. Or let's just do 1 is greater than 2 here. So this automatically makes it a boolean automatically. But then you might just decide to say, I want to be sure this thing would end up being a boolean. You could do something like this. Yeah, so it gives you false. 1 is not greater than 2. But this is a little misconstrued, because even if I had done this, even if I had done it this way, even if I had gone ahead and done it this way, it would have still worked. It would have worked. But then let me just show you some interesting conditions now. So in JavaScript is it's not type, it's dynamic, so it lets you get away with a lot of stuff. In some languages you can't do this, but when I do this in JavaScript, I'm trying to. So when the point is, whenever you wrap anything with the word boolean, it automatically tries to make it true or false. It tries a way to make it true or false. So that now gives us a concept like truthy values and falsy values. So this means they are not actually true or false in the sense of the word true and false, but they act truthfully and they act falsely. So when I do something like this, it tells you true. An array is truthy in JavaScript. It's a JavaScript thing. You do an object is truthy. But what would you think of an empty string? It means nothing. An empty string will be falsy, right? Then let's look at another word like null. What do you think null will be? Null is a keyword. It's also a primitive type in JavaScript. It gives you false. Yeah. And let's think of something like undefined. So null and undefined, keep that at the back of your mind. Just hold that thought. Null and undefined words are also primitive types. Yeah. It gives you false. All these are false values. So that's it about booleans. Then let's go straight to the interesting parts. So we have an array operations. Idris was able to go over the concept of arrays with you and objects, and I believe everyone had gone to that class. So I'm just going to go straight to the operations. I don't want to waste your time. We have many array operations, but I'm just going to show you some. So let's say, for example, you're given an array that looks like this. Const, let's say 0 interns. To this is an array. This is a way to start an array, and then let's just say use a bars Let's use Laura, and then let's use map. That's it. So those three names, those are zero interns now. So you have, let's imagine this array is like a workspace. You have things on the workspace. You want to add an intent to the workspace. How would you do that in the concept of an array? Do that. So that gives you one method. We have a method called array.push. So in this concept now, I could just say, I want to add to the zero intent array. I'll just do zuri. Array now stands for any array you're trying to operate on. So this is an array. I can do this. If I do this with an object, it's not going to work. So I just do zero intents dot push. Who do I want to push to the workspace? Who do I want to invite to the workspace? Invite, let's say Andrew Cole. Andrew Cole is a cool guy. He needs to join the workspace. I invite him to the workspace. Push. Then I want to see what happens to my array after I do this. JavaScript is read from top to bottom. So the engine will read it and come here. We read from top, then come to the bottom. So once I console log zero intents, what would you expect to see? Oh, and we're part of our workspace now. Yeah. So what if I want to kick off somebody? Let's say Abbas has not been active, he has not been doing his assessment, but I need to kick off Abbas. What do I do? So we have array.pop. Well, we have array.. Let me use shift for now so you understand. So array.pop and array.shift, they do two different things. But they do the same thing basically, we'll do it in two different ways. So let's say we have Andrew Cole in this, we have Andrew Cole in our array at the moment, but I want to remove Abbas from the first side. I don't want to remove Cole. How do I do that? I'm just going to do this. If I do array dot, if I do zero intents, remember the array now we're looking at is the array. If I do zero intents dot shift, and then I come here, and I console log zero intents, what's going to happen? I do. Abbas is out of the workspace. He has been kicked off. He was not serious with the internship. So Abbas is out. But what if I want to kick off Andrew Cole? Andrew Cole came in. It's cool, but I don't like him any longer. I want to pick him up. We have another word called pop. So pop removes from the end of an array. Shift removed from the first of the array, like from the first guy in the array. That's what pop. That's what shift does. So we have pop. I'll just come now. I've added Andrew Cole, but I want to remove him in this step. So see what's going to happen. Once it's added and it's removed. Andrew Cole was added in this step, which is line 36. And then when it came to line 42, Andrew Cole was removed. So you have the word pop. Let's say, okay, I added Andrew Cole to the last. Let's say it's not Andrew Cole that came to the workspaces. I have a workspace. Then let's say Xylos came. It says number one man on your workspace. So how do I assure that happens? I use the word on shift. On shift and push, we do the same thing. They are an array, but push adds to the end of the array, while on shift adds to the beginning of the array. So when I do on shift now, and I use Xylos, and I send it. Xylos is part of my array. You can see Xylos is the first guy. He just came from nowhere and is the first guy in the array. That's an array operation. Okay, let's move into something. Let's move into string operations. I'm just going to quickly comment this out. I'm going to quickly comment the console log so it doesn't get in my way. So let's say I declare string. The string first is called, let me just, I'm just going to briefly copy what we have here. I want to quickly move what we have here down. So I'm going to quickly move what we have here down. I don't want to write that code. It saves me time. It's a productivity hack. I just copy it and I continue. But I want to use it for an example. Let's say I want to check, does the full name contain Abasif? Does it contain something? So I have my name here, Abasif, okay? Let me just use my name, Abasif, okay. And I come here. We have a string method called include. So I come here and I say console log. I want to see the results. Console log full name that includes first name. What do you expect to happen? Does the full name have, does my full name have Abasifeke in it? It should, right? Once I run that, what do you expect to happen? Sorry, something else is getting in our way, I think. Yeah, it's getting in our way about that. So you see the true result, that's getting in our way. So when I come and I run this. So, of course, full name includes my first name, Abasifeke. If I try that with last name, you should expect the same. Yeah, it includes my last name. What if I come now and I say it includes Xylos? Does it include Xylos? No, it doesn't. My full name does not include Xylos. Right, that's it. I could come. Okay, I want to. Let's say you're given Abasifeke to return the first 5 letters in the word Abasifeke. We also have another method called slice. Just use this method now. If I come now and I do console.log, first name, I just want to it sounds, you're trying to slice something. I want to slice something. I want to start from index 0. First of all, you should know in JavaScript, anything that can be iterated on iterables, that's we have arrays and strings. Their indexes start from 0, 1. So A is 0, index 0, B is index B, is index 2, A is index 3, as it goes forth. So if I start from 0 and I end at, let's say, index 4, what do you expect to happen? Look at this and try to count from here. You should know that once you use slice, it includes this index, but doesn't include the last index. I'm hoping I still got that right. When I return that, so we have index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It included Abbas, but did not include I, but that's what slice does. So if they tell you to return Abasi, you should do index 5, right? Once you run that, it gives you Abasi. Yep. That's a string operation. All right. I don't want to bore you with too much. I'm going to link you to resources at the end of this. Let's look at basic operation. Let's look at methods, object methods. So we have, let's say you're given an object. This is an object. An object is called, let me just name it's JS soldiers. Yeah. And then this one now we have one. We say ninja 1. That's an object key. Name, let's say we name John. Anybody that joined the workspace, it's just a coincidence. We're just using random names here too. We call it let's say Jane. And then let's say Ninja 3. We call it Sweet Darlington. Yeah, so these are all JS Ninjas, cool guys. And then someone comes and say, you know what? I want you to give me all the keys in this object. Like, just give me Ninja 1, Ninja 2, Ninja 3. Forget about these ones. How would we go about that? JavaScript gives us a handling method. With objects, you can do something like this. And do JS soldiers. So you can do objects.keys JS soldiers. So when you do object.keys JS, what do you expect to happen? Gives you all keys in this as an array. So Ninja 1, Ninja 2, Ninja 3. Someone comes and says, you know what, I don't care about the keys, I don't care about the title, I want to divide their names in this object. Just come and do object.values. So object.values will give you all the values in this update. So it gives you John, James with Darlington. What if you want both? You know what? I want to compare them side by side. I want you to give me, I want, it's a task. They're giving a task. Give me the keys and the object and the values placed side by side. How do you go about that? We have another object dot entries. So it gives you this Ninja John, Ninja 2 Jen, Ninja 3 Speed Darlington. So yeah, this is a common object method use. So I want to just show you common methods. I don't want to go into something too deep or something that you will not end up need now. We'll move into array methods now. So array now, an array is called let's say top spenders is the array called. You also as a developer, you have sometimes you have problems trying to name variables. Let's just say there's video, then we'll come and mention Shatawale. This is not, of course, this is not facts. I'm just, and then let's name Bona. I have 3 top spenders, right? In this array. Then someone says, you know what? I want you to look at, I've given an array. Look at the array and then return and let me know if Bonabo is part of it, is a top spender. How would you go about that? Well, this method is not just popular to just strings. Arrays have this method. You could come and say, let me just do console. Just have in mind that wrapping any operation by console.log would make you see the results because it will return it and you can just see it in your console. So I could just come and wrap it and say, you know what, top spenders dot includes Burnable. And I run. True, Burnable is a top spender. Let's try Vico. Is Vico, is he on funds? Is he a top spender? So we run Vico. Vico is not a top spender, that's false, according to my own list of top spenders. So that people will not vex, let me add this kid. This kid top spender by default. So when I come here and I say, does my top spender include this kid? Of course, this kid is a top spender, right? So then I now say, you know what? This array, I want you to filter this array and remove anybody whose name does not start with W. Does not start with W. So I could just come and do something like this. Let's just name it updated top spenders. And then I'll do top spenders dot filter an array method. Keep in mind that don't see me bringing array methods out my head. I've used them a lot, but once I'm done, I'm going to link it to a list. And once you go through them, you'll also know these methods as well. So, and then dot filter now, I'm just going to, this is an arrow function. I noticed that Filio has gone over what arrow functions are, so I'm not going to take us back. So once I do this now, I can now do a condition. Let me just do a condition. I'll say return. I'm going to introduce a new method. So you can see we can use methods inside methods. It's going to be another method here. I'll say something like this point item in this case of this. So this does what we call an iteration. It iterates over an array. Iteration. So it goes from index 0 to index 1 to index 2 to index 3. The implementation detail is not our concern, but we know that JavaScript provided us a way to have that done. So we know that's in mind. So we know that for every time it runs, it's going to look at each of these items. Then when it gets to the end of the array, it's going to immediately exit to stop running. So when I come here now and I look at this array, return only elements that item dot start with. Start with is a method. It looks at does a string start with a letter you give it. So if I return just ones that start with W now, and I come here and I do console.log updated top spenders. Yeah, we only have this kid. This kid is now on the wall of his own. Every other person is not a top spender, just a regular spender. You could come here and say, let's look for someone that starts with Davi, just Davi, to show you how it really works. So at this point, it looks at the video. The video starts with that. Only the video will fulfill that condition. So array of filter will only return elements where the operation you give, you have to give an operation here. The operation you give, which is a Boolean operation, where the operation you give returns true. So item that starts with the video returns true. And then this method will include it to the returned array. That's the JavaScript thing. That's what filters. We can do something like this: return all elements that just start with. So I just introduce a new syntax. So you see the way we're going as we code, I bring in syntax. So this now will reverse the order. So if this sounds true, when you use this bang sign at the side, when it turn false. Let me demonstrate that for now. Before we see the results. So if I come here and I do console.log opposite of true, what do you expect to happen? Sorry, I'm going to comment this out so it doesn't interfere with our results. If I do this, you expect what? I know you should have the answer in mind. Hold on. Yeah, the answer is, so opposite of true is false. If I come here and I do the bang sign, that's the exclamation mark, then I do false. What do you expect? It gives you true. But let me take it a step further. What if I do two bangs, bang, like this? What's going to happen? I come here and I do this. It gives you false, yeah? So if you use this, it will first of all make it true, then make it false to reverse the order. So you just count it twice, true, false. If you use this on true, it will make it true again. But that's just a trick. Like there are use cases for that, but I'm not going to go into that for now. Then yeah, we have this. I don't want to demonstrate that. So that means this will only return elements that do not start with the video, right? About the same page. When I come here and I do this, yeah, the video is no longer spender. It's no longer balling, not that on his account. Yeah, then let's look into another method. I just want to show you the very three common methods, array methods we use. Then I'm going to just look at the top spenders again. Let's use map. Let's say, for example, someone said, you know what, for all these people, you have a list of names on Instagram. Let's not call it us, but let's call it Instagram handles. Let's do IG handles. But you are Instagram, you want to go through a list of handles and add top spenders to all of them, or add anything to their names. How would you do that? With an array, I do something like this. You don't want to do updated handles. Let me just do this for it throws error. Updated handles equals to IG handles dot map an item. This is the syntax. Then I'll now return. So it's going to return each of these. Map draws a transform. It will transform. You might decide not to do a transform. So I might decide to just come and, I'll just return item. I'll return an item and that's it. When I run here, everything stays the same. Nobody's pissed off that I updated their names. You have the video, we have Shatawale, all of them Shatawale. What if I now come and say, you know what? Let me add something to their name. So I'm going to use our concatenation again. I'll come now and I'll do celeb. Let me just add celeb to their name, then underscore, and then I'll now do this. I'll return item. Remember, item is this item here, and this item here points to each of the elements in the array. To take it further, to show you what else you can have as an argument here, I'll just do this. You can have item. The second argument is index. The last argument is the array itself. That's the array. That's the ID handles array. You could just name it main array. All these are passed into JavaScript. But when I link here, because you'll see more of this. So once you return this, what do you think is going to happen? Take a good guess what happen. So ideally, you have celeb appended to their names. Everybody now that is on Instagram, their names will not have celeb appended to them. We have that. Our Instagram has done that operation, and array helped us do that. That's it. So we have, so far we mentioned two methods for, we mentioned three, sorry, includes, filter, and then, and map. I'm going to leave it there. There's also another method, reduce. But reduce is a little advanced. So I just want to leave it. I don't want you to turn off at the moment. So I'm just going to leave it at just include map and filter. But anyway, if you want more information, I'm going to link the resource at the end of this class. So we have covered this at this moment. And right now, I'm just going to do this. This is something that, you know, people appreciate very well in JavaScript, but it's always good to know how it works. So let's say we're going to do two functions now. Sorry. This is a function. Map. The map is a function. It's about a function. And I like to use arrow functions myself. So for scope, let's say we have this. We do var equals to, we use var now. var number equals to 1. Yeah. Then we create a function. This function, we do this, we do this, we do this. This function. Our function should have a name. So I'm going to name it do it. Just a regular name. Sorry about that. We are not saying so proper. This function, what does it do? It will return number. Yeah, right. Then I come here and I console log do it. So I run do it, so it will give me return value. When I call a function, it has a return value to it to give me what it returns. If I just come and I call this like this, and I don't give it anything, the operations will run, but you don't see anything logged to the console. So that's it. That's the function return undefined because it return anything. All functions return on time by default. Once you specify a return value, then it's going to return what you want to return. That's it. Like a number. What is this number going to do? Does it throw an error, or does it return the number we expect it to return? It returns 1, right? It sees 1. But this function, okay, let's take it a step further. So I'll explain my point. So I come here and I do var number is equals to 4. Okay, I return number and I do this. What's going to happen? What is it supposed to return? Take a guess why this running. It's 4, right? That's we have. Maybe let me use, if I use var, you might say var can be reassigned, right? Let me use const. So you know, const cannot be declared assigned. That's one thing about. So once I use const, what do you expect to happen? It doesn't throw an error, Abi. So in JavaScript, called scope. In JavaScript, it's called scope. So what scope are you in now? So I'm just going to take you to a little drawing now. This drawing I drew it here, scope and closure. So what happens now is for scope. So let's imagine C is a main its own scope. So this around here is B is a function living in its own, and then C, right? Function living in its own scope. So the way the arrows are pointing, when C for something, a variable or anything you give it to it, the first of all start at its own scope. You look at its scope. Do I have, so in our case, seed number here, right? So it's come and look now. So this is the scope, this is the scope, this is the function. Then anything declared out is in the global scope. At the now is in index of the scope. So a file scope is like a global scope. So it's in the global scope now. So it will come. You gave it number. Where is number? Is number in my scope? Let's look at its scope. It has 4 in its scope, like I told you. So C with its own scope, it chooses its own scope. Once you look at the scope, you see it has C. It will just return that C. But if it didn't have C to go into this scope, is there a number in this scope? No, there's no number in this scope. Then it will now go finally into the last scope. Let's imagine is the outer scope. In this scope, we have number. We also have number. What's going to happen? Well, comment it and see what happens. So without number and I print out number and I return number, what happens? It throws an error. It's a reference error. You use a variable that's not been, but you decided to use it. It lets you know that number is not defined anywhere. So it has gone through all this. You went to this scope, you didn't see it. Going to the global scope, you didn't see it. It returns reference error. That way, it helps you predict what has gone on with your code, right? So that's how scope works generally in JavaScript. I'm not going to give you examples. So let's imagine something, right? I come here and instead of logging, let's not log do. Let me do this. Sorry. So let me come here. I do var number here, and I come here and I just log number. I'm not going to run that function. What's supposed to happen? The same thing, yeah? So the console log looked at the global scope and you didn't see anything. So you just immediately returned an error. But that now means one thing, that var is function scope. So when you declare any variable within a function, it's very hard to look into it from the outside. That's how var works. var has function scoping. We also have block scope. So we have block scope and function scope in JavaScript. And ideally, if I go into this, it's going to take us down like that hill. But then what I've shown you here is sufficient for this. And I don't want to let you know how functions look at variables when you give them variables. But then that's it for now. And we look at what we call an execution context. It's also around the same thing. So when you call a function, the function creates not just a scope, but it creates an execution context. So it's executing around this context. And then this one has its own execution context, and this function has its own execution context. That way, it's created in the JavaScript engine. The JavaScript engine is able to separate every function operation. Because when you do something like let's say something like this, when you do handles.map, for each of the iteration, a function is created and added to the engine. And each of those functions maintain their own execution context. That's it. It's like scope, but it's not exactly like scope. But I'm going to link a resource to that. If you are interested in that, it's an advanced case. If you're interested in that, you can go on and do on it. But it's not something that is really pertinent for you to excel in. Then we have closure. I'm going to show you closure. And closure mostly is what makes JavaScript so powerful. People ask, why do you like JavaScript? I just want to show you this. So you have a function now. Functions can turn basically anything in JavaScript, and functions can themselves be returned. I could name something. I just do. I'll name it return from, right? Returns a function. And then I come here. Let me use the function keyword so it's clearer for you. Function, I'll name it return func. And then I come here and I do, and then right, and I return another function. this function now, I can name it child form. So I'm inside a function. So I'm a child function. And then I come here. I pass an argument to this function. It's called A. And come here and also the log A, right? So when I come here now, remember I told you something that each of them maintains their scope, right? Scope and closure. So I could do something like this. So what I could do, this is a scope. So this function can look into its outer scope based on our diagram. But the direction is just from in out. You can't go from out in. So if I come here, sorry. If I declare a function, if I come here, I declare something, I do const b is equals to 2. And I come up here and I do console.log. What do you expect is going to happen? Okay. Before I even do that, let me just run this function. And this function now is going to introduce it to what we call closure. Once you pass it 5, nothing much, right? I run it. What's going to happen? It fails. B is not defined, but B is defined inside its inner function. So this function cannot look down into another scope, but the function inside can look out into its outer scope. It's one way from not out in. That demonstrates why I pointed these arrows outside. But that's just it. That's just it, by the way. Yeah. Let me just return this. So what it is going to happen around this? What is going to return? It's going to return another function. That's return a child function. But you know what? Let's not just call this function directly. Let me just do this and do. Let me just call it correct form. I'll just call it correct form. And then I'll call it like this. So when I call it like this, and then when I come and call correct form like this, what do you expect to happen? Remember, I call this function and I pass it 5. This function returns a function if it is function. So when I call this function, what's going to happen? It returns 5. But of course, you're like, well, it's obvious that should happen. But this is not something that's available in every language for a fact, but it's available in JavaScript. What happens now is that when I declare this function, like, even though I had not called this function will always remember. This function will always remember that it's supposed to, that it always have access to this 5. This function will always have access to the function it's supposed to. Like it's always going to have access to this 5. So what happens now is that once I create this and its execution context is created, then we have what we call closure. A closure is created and is maintained by the engine, by the JS engine. So the JS engine now will keep track of this value 5. If this could not happen, if that did not happen, you will not have this function remembering that this function that's inside. Because once you call this function, it executes the one inside. You will not have this function remembering that its parents have 5 as its arguments. But at this point now, you've separated the whole process. So that idea of function returning functions, then calling inner functions, which will now remember the values that parents had, is what's called closure in JavaScript. JavaScript maintains a closure of variables that are needed by functions that may need it in the future. The way it's designed, the engine can know for sure that this function will one day need this variable. So it's not going to destroy it. After every execution, it does JavaScript does what we call garbage collection. It's going to clear every variable, try to free up memory that are not needed. So once you do closure like this, is to maintain that closure. But once we call it here, at this point now, we can delete the value of A in memory. It's part of what we call memory, memory management in JavaScript. It's an advanced case, but I just decided to touch this in case you see code where a function returns a function, you will not be so confused. Yeah, so that's it. And we moved on to the next one, if and else statements. Then for the if and else statements, we just we're just coding along. Then let's say you want to do something. Let's use full bar. So we have a statement. We have a problem. The problem now is if you write a function that returns as if value is divisible by 2 and no if not. So let's create a function. So it's good to name your variables like this so people can understand. Anyone that picks up your code can understand. So at this point, you know that I'm trying to make a function divisible by 2. So take an argument. That argument is what to pass to it. So it's going to be a number. And then we come here, and over here we do a statement. This one use if else. So what are we going to do now? We'll do this. We'll say if, first of all, how do we even know how to know a number is divisible? In JavaScript and programming languages, we have an operator called the modulus operator. It's percentage normally. You expect it's percentage in normal convention, but in programming it's modulus. It's the modulus operator, and it returns a remainder. It returns a remainder. So if I divide something that not divisible by 2, not divisible by 2 with the modulus operator by any number, if it's not divisible, it will return a remainder. Let's just do a demonstration. I come here and I do 9 modulus 2. What's the remainder of 9 modulus 2? You did maths. You should know. Sorry. Yeah. This is getting in our way. Let me just forget that it's getting in our way. It needs, that's like a syntax error. Yeah, so let me do this. So 9 divided by 2 is modulus 2 is 1. Because if you divide 9 into 4 places, it will give you 8. Then there's a remainder 1. That's the way you do remainder in school. 9 remainder this. If I do 9, if I do 13, let me use 13 so you understand. You might understand better why I'm doing, why it works that way. I do 13 modulus 5. What do you expect to happen? 3, remainder 3. That's a remainder before it can get into a value that 5 can understand. So with this now, we can use that to leverage something. So to check a number is divisible by 2, we can do if number is divisible by 2, if number divisible by 2 is equals to 0. This is an equality sign in JavaScript. These are the operator. I don't know if it has been introduced to you, but I'm going to introduce it now. In JavaScript, if you want to compare 2 values, you can use this or this. The difference, however, is if I do something like this, console log 1 is equals to 1. What do you think is going to happen? Let's watch and see. Is 1 equals to 1? It's true. Wow, that's weird. One number should not be equals to 1 a string. But remember what I told you. See what JavaScript is going to do. If I come here, I do like this. Let me do this for you. And let's see what happens. If I do this, boolean 1, what is it going to return? If I do this, sorry, not boolean. If I do this number 1, you can do this. To convert a string to a number, you use this. Number 1. What's going to return? Returns 1. That's 1 a number. That is 1 a number. To even prove that is 1 a number, we have an operator, another operator we can use in JavaScript, which is called the type of operator. I would like the way we're moving from, we just have use cases, we introduce new concepts, that way it sticks faster. So when I do this, the type of, if I do this, sorry, the type of, if I come and do this, console.log type of, I run type of 1. What do you think is going to give me? Type of 1 is equals to a string. One is a string, right? If I come now and I do type of this, what is it going to give me? It's a number. JavaScript has converted it from a string to the number 1. So when you come, this is a way to determine the types of values. So if I come and do type of true, what do you think it's going to be? It's a boolean. That's the primitive type boolean. So that's it. You can play around with that later in your own time. So when it comes here and I do this, when it comes here now, JavaScript does this internally for us. So when we use a lose operator, which is the 2 equal sign, JavaScript will both of them. Are they of the same type? No. If you try to convert each of them, try to convert this one here to a number, right? So once it does that by itself. It has conditions. Are you comparing a number and a string is a number and a string? Convert the number. Are you comparing a string and a string? It's an internal implementation. You don't need to get a little bit of that. It's going to come here, convert this to the number 1. Then it's going to compare it, and that's going to give you true. But what if we use the 3 equal sign? What's going to happen? JavaScript will say, I'm not converting it. I'll look at it. Is 1 and 1, are they both numbers? No. It's 4. They're not the same type. 4. So that's it. So to make your programs more predictable, I always advise use this to know that JavaScript doesn't convert it for you internally. But if you want that conversion to happen, internally, you could just use 2 signs and then it's going to happen. But you have to be aware that it might introduce bugs that you can't even debug. So just use the true sign and then. So what could happen now is that I could just come here. If I want to predict how it works and have any other developer know how it works, I'll just come and wrap it by number like this, and then I'll just run it. If I do this way, it's going to return true, but I converted it to a number. Sorry. I forgot the brackets here. It returns true. I converted it myself. So a developer can come and see it's comparing 1 and number 1, but it's converting it to a number first. So a use case of this is maybe someone submits a form. In that form, they submit age. That form has an age field. In that form, they submit age. But in HTML, CSS, if you specify an input type as text, it's going to return it as a string, even if you put in a number. So if you put in 1 in a form, it will come as like this 1. But you might want to use the number 1 here, this 1 as a number, not as a string. So you convert it to number and then compare it. So you are sure that this is naturally inputted 1 and not another number. So that's a use case, a practical use case of converting this to a number. Then coming back to this, so we do modulus this divide by 2. If what you pass divide by 2 is equal to 0, then this will return true because 0 is equal to 0, right? Yeah, right. But come and do this. 0 is equals to 0. What is it going to return? It's going to be true. 0 is equals to 0. So we leverage on that. If the number divided by 2 is equals to 0, then we can return true that the number is, of course, is divisible by 2. Or we can do else we return false. So once you come here now, I'm going to quickly remove this. So I come here and I do console.log is divisible by 2, and I pass it 4. What's it supposed to return? That's true. It's true. Let's pass it. If it passes, then we have a bug. Our operation does not work. It's false. It's not divisible by 2. We can pass it any number that ends with 2. In fact, I'm going to pass it any number. I'm just going to type random numbers. Sorry. I don't do rush passing. I'm rushing it. And I do this, and I end it with 2. And I do this. It knows the engine is that fast. It knows it's divisible by 2. If it ends with 2, 4, 8, any of those, even 0, if I do that and I run it, it's divisible by 2, right? But we might want to make this function more dynamic. We just want to use it all over our app. Our app determines the divisible numbers. We want to give it to users to be able to input a number, then input the divisible factor. So we can do is divisible by number. Then when we come, we will pass in a number, and then we'll pass in the let's say divisible number. So when I come here and I do this. This is a dynamic program. When I do this now, okay, what do you think is gonna happen if I don't pass an argument, a second argument to this function? Let me keep it to 4. What's gonna happen? What should we return? Not defined. Okay, sorry. I changed the function with the reference error. If I do this, what should we return? That's weird, right? Okay. Let me come and do something now. Console.log. Console.log. Let's do 4 modulo 0. What should it give us? We went to school. You should understand when we do this. Not a number. We have an operator in JavaScript called not a number. You can use it to do operations internally, but then it's just not a number. It doesn't really have any real value. It's not a number. So if you try to divide anything that's not a number, operation is not a valid operation. That's why it's giving you not a number. If I use one like this, it will return, of course. I use 1. There's no remainder for 1. If I do something like this, what should we return? 0, right? Zero. JavaScript converts this for us. It does correction for us, but this is not a valid operation. 4. What? I'm trying to give you instances when none can happen. JavaScript converted the left and converted the right for us to make that happen. But let's do divided by a and see what happens. It gives you not a number. So 4 divided by a will give you none. It's not a meaningful operation. It gives you none. That's why it gives you that. It's not meaningful. You can't do number operations on it. So 4 divided by 0 is not a meaningful operation in mathematics. Yeah. So when I run that, to give me none. But the answer here is none. So is none equal to 0? No, it isn't. But let's use 2 equal signs and see what happens. It's still none, yeah? Because no number is equals to none. That's a fact. Come and I do hello. Is hello equals to none? I will use 2 equal sign. No, the answer is false. The first one is false. No number is equal to none. That's the JavaScript. Get someone ask you anywhere. Is none equals to any number equals to none? Is anything equals to none? If you use an object, it's not equals to none. It isn't. Even if it's 2 equal sign. Let's do none. Is none equals to none? Or more? Okay. What now equals to none? Sorry. So none is not equals to anything. None is not equals to itself. If you want to determine that an operation returns none, you have to use this new method I'm going to introduce. Number is not a none. Then you wrap it with none. I think it should be is none. Yeah. Yeah, that's the method. Number is none. So you're checking, is it none? Is none? Yeah, for real, it's true. It returns true. If I come and do, is this none? It will return false. So that's the only way to check for none. So have that at the back of your mind. That's something you always come by later, but then I just have to show you that. So it tells you. But what happens here though is that once you do this, it divides this by undefined. So when you don't pass an argument here, if I do console.log this, the JavaScript immediately makes it undefined on runtime. So when I come here and I run this, sorry, let me remove this so we can, okay, let me have that. So if you run this, the first console log is the first one. So it returns undefined. So when it does number divided by undefined, it gives you none. So let's demonstrate that. Let's do 4 is divided by undefined. What is it supposed to give you? It gives you none. Yeah, so right. That's what happened internally. And it didn't pass. It didn't pass. That was a bug. That's a bug. But what we could have done anyway was when you do this, we just a little conditional check. This part of thinking as a programmer, you say, if not num, if you don't pass the number, or not, that's any number that is false and you use not for to give you true, or not this. We do this and we pass this here. Just return a gentle message. Return, please pass all arguments. So when I run this now, what does return value? Please pass all arguments. So this is what happens. This could be extended to real life cases like validation. Someone comes now to you're a front-end developer, a back-end developer, anything you're a developer, you're building a tool. Then you expect people to pass in an argument. You someone to submit their name on their form. You try submitting, you go to Zoo, you try submitting some required, don't submit it. To give you a simple message. To just give you, please pass all argument. You know what? Let's just take it out of the context of this and let's make it show in our browser. We can use alerts, native alerts, right? We don't even need to return alerts. It's just going to fire. So when I do this, okay, why Node.js? Node.js, you cannot use something like alerts in Node.js. So Node.js guys, we'll meet and we'll discuss why we can't use that later. I don't want to explain that in this class. This class is for JavaScript people. So once you do that, it returns pass all arguments. But if I come and then I give you 4, and then I give you 2, what's going to happen? It returns true. So it passes this. So neither of this is false. So this is defined, this is not defined. But what if I pass in 0? Pass all arguments and make sure they are greater than 0. They are of type number and greater than 0. So when I do this now, the message is more descriptive now. You need to pass the arguments and you need to know that they are of type number and they are greater than 0. Yeah, so we have that out of the way. But then let's just use our program. So we can do this. It gives you true. We can come here and we do this gives you false. Yeah, right. So we have it's supposed to give you false. It gives you false. So we have that out of the way. So that's a fun operation. Yeah. So we have a case for if-else statement now. And then I wanted to talk about statements, but I'm thinking now that I should leave that to your tutor to talk about, so we don't take all the time. I need to move to something else. But this is a use case for an if-else statement. And I'm going to link a resource. If you want more information on it, then by all means go ahead. Read on it. That's what makes you an outstanding developer, personal research. You're waiting to be taught. You will not know a lot. So I'm going to move on from if-else, from switch statements. I'm going to dive into inheritance and classes. Okay, so let's see something. In JavaScript, we have something called classes, and we have what we call prototypical inheritance. I want to make this little brief. If you need more understanding, you have to do it, or you could just follow at me, and then we'll talk about it anytime. So I'm going to declare a function. I'm going to call that function. Intern. This function is an intern, and this. I'm going to come here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do. I'll give it age. When I come here, I'm going to do this dot a is equals to age. Oh, what this? That's enough. But out the way. And then I'll come here and I'll just do let me do Miwa. Miwa is a new intern. It's an intern. I'm going to pass Miwa is 25 years old. So when I come here and I do console.log, tell me what should we see? Oh, you see intern, an intern, someone of an intern class with the age 25. So tell me what dot age. What should I see? Tell me what age is 25. That's interesting. We declare this. This is a function. Why are we using function this way? A lot of questions on your mind. So the convention is when you use functions like this, you use the this keyword as it is. You are creating, this is a function constructor. Let me do this. This is a function constructor, right? So to make this inherit this, to make I might have to read my IDE. Sorry guys, let me just read it for a while. Please. Well, we see have some of our changes saved. I think the network went a little bad at that moment, so waiting for now. So I'm just going to keep talking. So the concept of inheritance and classes is, let's say you have a car. For that car, you want to have a car model. What should all cars do? All cars should be able to drive, right? I just leave that. So we have an intern. A Zuri intern should have an edge on their dashboard. So they have an edge. So we created another intern, Tomiwa. You know Tomiwa's edge. I could come here and then, I want to create, I don't know. I know David now. David is of 30 years old. And I want to know David's edge. What is David's edge now? When I do this, David's edge is what do you think David's edge is going to be? David is going to be 30. David is 30, right? Then, so once you use this syntax now, you declare a function constructor. But then when you use the new word, you make this to refer to this, like to refer to this newly created object. So this dot edge now will create like an object internally. So you see when we did console.david here, it shows you an object called intern, which is now, and this object now, the original object now has this edge created for it. So it creates, and then to create something like this, it creates edge to 30. So it does edge equals to whatever you pass into it. That's what it does. So that's what it creates behind the scenes for you. So that's what this syntax does. That's why you use this. If you don't do anything like this and you just passing this and you run, it just gives you an empty object. It doesn't create that for you. So that this now is a way to create this object to make sure that when you pass in an argument, the JavaScript engine will take it up, then create an object for you. That's a function. That's what the function constructor does. It's a simple. Okay, someone says I have to slow down. I'm slowing down. Sorry about that. Then so we have that out the way, yeah. So what if I don't pass the word new? What does the word do? What if I don't pass the word new? It's undefined, right? David is undefined. David wasn't created. You didn't use the word new. So once you have a value like this, okay, no, let's do this. Let's see what happens when I do this. David is not a function. David isn't a function. Now, once you don't do that, this act like a regular function, and then this is not return anything. But let's do this. Let's return age and see what happens. Oh, David now returns age. So you've made this a normal function now. You just return value and that's it. But now we want this to act like a constructor functions. We want to create one function and have everybody copy from it. We want to have an intent function, intent for constructor function, and then we have more intents being created from that. So we now add the word new. The new word will help us do that in accordance with this syntax. That helps us do that. So once we do this, and now it gives us our other class, which all of intern class, yeah. So what if I want all interns should be able to speak on Slack, to be able to speak? Their human beings able to speak, and I want each of them to have a speak method, right? If I come and I do this, I come and do this, intern dot prototype dot speak is equals to function. It will take in the word, and then it will console of this speak. Okay, to return a word speaks. So, let's make some David. Let's make some by our. Sorry, I can't pronounce the word right. Don't be angry with me. So if I come here and I do David dot speak and I give you the word, what should return? Returns hi. David can speak. How? Why can David speak? David, I just created David. Does David have a speak method on it? Okay, sorry. Let me come and do Tomiwa. Tomiwa should say, hi, I'm Tomiwa. Oh, Tomiwa can speak. David can say, Tomiwa can say, hi, I'm Tomiwa. And then I'll now come and do console. I'll do David speak. I'll do hi, Tomiwa. I am David. So it says, hi, Tomiwa. Hi, I'm Tomiwa. Then it replies to Tomiwa, hi, Tomiwa. I am David. Look at, think of a use case. You could create like a system where you can both interact. We're both interns. Tomiwa speaks to David. David speaks to Tomiwa. Like this is just, I'm just trying to give you like a practical example of, of how this we could have this happen, and then to make me. But involved to create to run those things that once you create a function constructor, you can create a chatting app. There's more involved, but this is it anyway. This happen now, yeah. And then, but the amazing thing is, everybody, each of them can speak. But if I come and do this, let's come and do this. If I come and do Tomiwa.dance, someone can dance. He's a grooving guy. The guy that dance, yeah. I do Tomiwa.dance is equals to function, this function, and then I'll return dancing now. Dancing now as let's play around a little. Let's get the list and see what will happen. Do dancing as, and I do. If you want me to say anything, just tag on Slack. I'll get notification then. I'll just adjust to that. Dancing as this.h. Dancing as a this.h old. This.h years old. 20-year-old, yeah. So if I come do, let's remove these guys for now. And I do Tomiwa dot what they do, what dot dance. What's going to happen? Wow. So Tomiwa is 25 and is dancing as a 25-year-old. So you can look at this keyword. This now still remembered that age is 25. We passed in 25 here. This dot age captured it as 25. So when we use it in the methods that this class can still remember that this 25 was passed into it. It's part of the JavaScript answers and all that. So, but there's so many backgrounds to how this behaves, but I'm not going to go into that now. That's something that you after learning can talk about it. Sure. Then that happened. So what if I come now and I say baby should dance? Will baby dance? David doesn't have the dancing capability. Tell me what can not dance? Well, how did that happen? Like, why is it possible that I added it points? Everybody could speak, but I came and added tell me what dance. And for he could not dance. You might say, added it to tell me why, yeah. Okay, let's add it to intern and see. Let's add it to intern. See if everyone will still be able to dance. See, these are practical use cases, so understanding stuff. So let's add it to intern and see. By adding to intern is their papa or their mama, their parents. They don't have that. So everyone now will be wondering, there's one feature that's making this thing seem possible. What is that word? What is that? What is that keyword making this possible? This out. So when I come here and I do what the prototype, the dance, I do dance. Will David dance? Oh, wow. So we can't do the prototype or dance because Tommy one now doesn't have his own internal prototype, right? So if you see the error message, let me copy the error message out of here and call. It will say cannot set property dance of undefined. Wow, what's undefined? Prototype is undefined. Object. But intern is a function. Functions have prototypes. Just the function have prototypes. Right. Okay. So if I come now and I do, I want everyone to dance. I want everyone to dance. And I do prototype. What's going to happen? It should be an error. It's still because of this line we left here, right? If I do this now and then I run, that's what's going to happen. My man David is dancing. So we did inheritance. We made sure everybody that's created from this function, every object, these are objects. These objects don't have the prototype here. They don't have this word attached to them, this keyword attached to them. They do not. But every object created from this. So once you do this new you create an object, like as you demonstrated. Once you console log David, it turns an object, not a function. Should we? That's an object. We console log intent to see what intent returns. Intent is a function. Tell me why. But we use a constructor now to create an object. That's the JavaScript thing. So if you want everyone to inherit this method, you need to cheat to the prototype of the main function constructor. But if I just want Tomiwa to have an ability, Tomiwa is the only guy that can promote. Tomiwa is a mentor, or Tomiwa is a special intern. He's a team lead, and Tomiwa can use a channel. They use at channel. Use channel word. So you can use the channel word. If I come here and I do return a channel, I am the team lead. So if I come and do Tomiwa dot use channel, I call that. Tomiwa can do a channel. Once it does a channel, What's Achana, I'm the team lead. You can have, okay. Let's try. You don't have that permission. Come on, let's see what is that. Yeah, David cannot use the word a channel. It doesn't have that a channel property on it. So if you want to give specific properties to specific objects, you don't want everyone that's coming to get it, just some special objects to get it. You can do that. So this. Imagine a system now, Slack. We are all on Slack. Mentors can type on the admins on the workspace can type on the announcement channel, but interns cannot type. That we give different permissions to different people. That's an advanced implementation. But to break it down here, we are all Slack members, but then we have different abilities. We are all interns, but then some of you are team leads, or they are team leads anyway. Some of you are team leads, but you can all speak, you can all dance, you can all party, you can all groove. That's it. So we use prototype now to make everyone getting from this to inherit from it. This syntax, look at it again. We create a function constructor, we attach methods to the prototype, and then on doing that, we come here and then we call those methods and put that the methods that exist on the prototype are accessible to every instance. So this is an instance, this is of that constructor function. Also, as you advance in the software development space, you see the word instance. On a server, you can have many instances of a server running. Many server instances running. If you're a DevOps guy, that's the DevOps team. You can also have many instances of database running. They look the same, they have the same properties, but you have different requests coming into different servers. But this is an advanced case. I don't want to just go into that for you with that picture. But this is prototypical inheritance. But this is too tedious. Like, why do I need to do this? People that are from other languages will probably say JavaScript they do too much. And that's true. JavaScript is trying to do too much. I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to show you the syntax that this things to save our lives. The class syntax. So if I do class, right? And this class now, I come here and I say class. Let's create another inter. It's a class this time. Nothing much, nothing fancy, just a class. And we do constructor. And we pass this, we pass in age, we come here. Right? We do this we have to do that. All right. Then once we do this, we pass that, we come here, we add, say dance. In this dance, we say dance should return this. And then we come here and we do, let's do speak. Speak should return the word. Let's return the word I was going to you. And then we come here and we do, the same syntax, the exact same thing we did. And we do that same thing I did from start to finish. Then we run it to see if we still have the same expected results. Okay, let's comment this out for now. Then let's run console. Tell me why, go ahead and dance. I've commented this out, so it's not going to run. There are people just go over it. It doesn't run comments, it only runs syntaxes that are not comments. So when it runs this now, I use low. I'm just typing things anyhow, but that's it. So I do console, tell me why the dance. Tell me why it's dancing. What happens now is, okay, tell me why it's dancing as a 25-year-old, yeah? Then we come and say, "Tell me what, David, they're boring. Let David do some dance. David dances. David, 30-year-old. All these story would be a function constructor attached to prototype, then came down and then do all this one. So let's try to say, tell me why use this channel, this word. And they will use it. They cannot use it for sure. But let's see if someone can use it. Yeah. So this syntax is very clean. Everyone would agree with me, right? I can just come, you use the word class, you know this is a class. You use intern, then you create the constructor function. Without this, you'll not be able to receive add class. Remove here. You see, not just that. And not even just that, you will not even be able to have this reusability of using 2530 and making it popular to that class. So this what we did is also similar to what we're on here. And but the good thing is you can define methods on the class. So every method on the class will be inherited by every class that you use the new word on it. That's just a fact. Why am I even using the word new? You ask me, why are you using new? Okay, let me do this now. Let's do as Tomiwa. Like, why do we need to do that with your extent? As Tomiwa extends, right? What's going to happen? As Tomiwa extends intern. I come here and I do new Tomiwa. And I run, what's going on? Sorry, that should not have happened. Let me use yes, that's already been declared through an error. Let's use something. As Tomiwa, should I use another thing class? As Tomiwa, okay. Let's Tomiwa Junior. Now do Tomiwa Junior. Then I'll do Tomiwa Junior. Everything remains the same. So instead of us to do for Tomiwa Junior, instead of us to do new intern, right? We came and we did new Tomiwa. Let me comment there without. Maybe they might be confusing people. We did new Tomiwa, and then Tomiwa Junior for some reason just has that method. If you attach this to Tomiwa, let me come here and then I do this. Let me attach this to Tomiwa and let's see what happens. Do you think Tomiwa Junior? Do you think that Tomiwa Junior would have method? It does define on the class. I don't know it on Tomiwa. But if I had done this, if I do if I come here and I've done this, and I define this function. And then I do this. Everything is going to happen. So Junior can use it. So I define this method on Tomiwa Junior. Tomiwa. So Tomiwa Junior now, which is the child of our, can use it. Can David use it now that I defined it on Tomiwa? Let's see that. David cannot use it. So the only person I use it is someone that inherited from Tomiwa. Tomiwa defined it of itself. This was never Tomiwa has his own method. They gave it to his child. Like he gave his child his login access. Tomiwa Junior just went on Tomiwa Slack, enters the Slack channel. He's Tomiwa's child. He has access to Tomiwa's system, and Tomiwa can simply just use it. So we did inheritance here. We've inherited methods, and then we extended it. So this also showed you that a class can inherit from a class, another class can inherit from it. This creates a chain. So we have a chain. We have Tomiwa intern of intern pointing to Tomiwa Junior, which is now inheritance. It goes down from intern to Tomiwa to inherit to Tomiwa Junior. That's an inheritance flow for you. This is just an introduction to this concept. It's a powerful concept. You can use it to organize your code well. You create an intern class. All interns should be able to dance. All interns should be able to speak. And then you can say only interns that derive from Tomiwa should be able to use the channel keyword. I could come here and let me not even name this Tomiwa. Let me name it. I make this guy a team lead. This is a team lead. I come here and I say Tomiwa Junior is a new team lead. And then I come here and I say Tomiwa Junior. Like that. And I run this. Only team leads can use that. If I come here and do Precious is equal to new. I put that to me that I don't want only one team lead, I want many team leads on my team. I come and do another team lead. They just make it 26 or whatever. Then I come and say, can Precious use the word? So let's try. Precious use the word a channel. So Precious is a team lead. So you see that you've done inheritance. You have an instance, then you have a team lead. Every team lead is an intern, but the team lead has a special property, can use a channel word. That's a special property peculiar to the team lead itself. And then I can make use out of that. But David is still intern. If David tries to use this method to have an error, David cannot use this method. Cannot use a channel, the Slack channel. He doesn't have access to that method. That's simply inheritance in JavaScript. This is an introduction. There's a lot more to it. Personal reading, and you understand. But like I said, you cannot reach. Then we're going to move to. I'm going to summarize everything here. All these by doing one article. We'll make an call. After that, we can call it a day. I think I'm hoping you enjoy us. And I think you've really been patient, and I like that. So let's have this. So now David cannot use the word. We have that out there. So now let's go to a real world example. I'm going to make an API call. You want to see me do this. First of all, we're in the Node environment, but we have a package that can be used in both Node and JavaScript, the front end browser. So I want you to come here, which is packages, type Axios. That's AXIO. This is a library. This is a library you can use. So when I come here, you use it to make, you use it to consume endpoints, you use it to communicate with another agent through HTTP. So if I I select that. I think that's been added already. It's going to introduce, then you can add the package. So once you do add package, it's going to install it. So it runs a command to install it. So I have access to this exhaust package. We should see this happen to this. You have a minus now, so it's added here. Is to create more files. I won't go into the nuances of these files. For the backend guys, we'll talk about this. The Node.js guys, we'll talk about what these files work. It's a path file, and that's it. Yeah. So that's I'm going to delete all this because I want to go refresh. So in Node.js, before you use a packet, you have to you know what? Doesn't know there. I'm just do the website so you have that for reference. So in Node.js, before you use a packet, you just simply import it. In Node.js, you do this. I will import Exodus. I can name this thing. I want to import it as Exodus. Use the word require in Node.js. This is specific to Node.js. Please. If I were to do this, if I were to do this using, if I were to do this in using it like React, I will do imports. You can also configure it to work this Node.js, but you have to use it. You have to configure it to work this way. Node.js understands requires is common JS, so common JS module. Because you ask that at any interview question, at any interview. Then you can import exos from let me do this exos. So this is ES6 import. This how to import things. ES6 import this is common JS, sorry. Common JS module and then ES6 import. But for this environment, we use require. The fun thing, guys, you mostly use this. Even in configure it, you're using TypeScript, you have to use this. But I want to use require for now. Don't pay too much attention to the import things. Or tutorial will tell you how to use them for each case. But this is just it. So we imported exist, we can use it. So I want to make an API call. You see it happen live. So I quickly searched this. I just searched fake API. This is a free fake API. Anyone can use. Just go to your browser, type JSON fake API. Then once you do it, you click on the first link in the browser. So when you do that, you're just going to scroll down. I'm going to just do a simple API call. You can use any route that you want to use, but I'm going to use. So for this now, click on this on the browser. It's going to make a get request. So it's going to make a request to, and of course, it will return this. It's just random values. So this is an endpoint we're going to use. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to do URL. I'm going to treat it as a value. And then declare that like that. That's it. Consider is equals to this. So how can we compare with this in code, in application code? So let's say you want to integrate payments with Flutter, for example. You want to integrate payments with Flutter Wave. And then Flutter will give you an endpoint and say see at, yeah, and then make a request to it. Once you request to it, you follow because you have of course attach some keys that are peculiar to you, but that's not in the scope of this class. But how do you want to talk to Flutter Wave through an API? How would you do that? So this is it. So first of all, I'm going to make a request. So I'm going to say cost response. Oh, let's call it the function. Sorry. Let's make it a function. So I'll create a function called get post, which is equals to, doesn't take nothing of that sort. Keep it simple as possible. Then we do const. Now we'll now do Axios get method for get request. Axios.get in the URL. Then we'll do you guys now are wondering what is .then? Why am I doing .then? Now do .catch. Why am I doing .catch? Why do I need to do that? Why do I have to do this? I'll get to that. Then I'm going to just simply do error is equals to console of error. Yeah, that's it. And then I'll come in and I'll do results. results. So that's it, right? So we have this happening now. And if I come here and I do console.log, if the console.log get this, what's going on? What do you see? Does it work? Does it not work? Wow, we have so many things. We have a large data key. So this object with this result here for Axios, you look at the document, come here and you do sorry, let's do Axios npm module where for JavaScript where you can just any package. So you do Axios npm and then you open it. You would see how it will describe briefly how you can use this. So if you scroll down now, it shows you how to use it. Just do exhaust.get, make a request for the given ID, you pass